Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this short and simple tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to draft the pattern to a straight and fitted gown with an asymmetrical neckline. For this, I'm just going to be demonstrating with my pattern paper. You need a few basic bodice measurements for this, so let's get started. First off, I want to go ahead and draw a straight line, and that line is going to be my shoulder line. After my shoulder line, the next line I'm taking is my bust line. For my bust line, it's my shoulder to my nipple point, which is at 11 inches. The next line I'm taking is my waistline. So for my waistline, it's at 16.5 inches. So depending on your body type, some people have the smaller parts of their body at their waist, while some people have the smaller part of their body at their under bust. So if you have the smaller part of your body as your under bust, you may want to mark out your under bust line, which is your shoulder to your under bust. But then if you have the smaller part of your body at your waistline, there's no need to mark your under bust. Just go directly and mark your waistline, and it'll still give you a good shape. I do hope you understand. Next, I'm going to mark out my hip line. My hip line is at 24 inches. I'm leaving a mark there. I'll go ahead and extend these lines vertically. So the next line I'm going to be marking out is the full length of this gown. For the full length of this gown, I'm going to be using 39 inches. I'm going to be placing my tape on my shoulder line, and I'm going to be going down to 39 inches, which is just about the length of this pattern paper. So once I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do will be to take my shoulder measurement. I'll be dividing my shoulder measurement by 2. My shoulder measurement is 16, and 16 divided by 2 gives me 8 inches. I'll be leaving a mark at 8 inches. From 8 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. From this point, I'm going to create my shoulder slope just like this. So once you've done this now, you can take your round armhole measurement and divide it by 2. Or to get your armhole, you can take your fitted bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So once you get that, you're just going to place that this way. So mine gives me 7.6. I'm going to leave a mark at 7.6, and I'll be connecting this point upward like this to form my armhole line. So this is my armhole line. Once I've done this now, I'm going to take my bust measurement, and I'm going to be dividing my bust measurement by 4. My bust measurement is 37, and 37 divided by 4 gives me 9.25, which is 9.25. So I'm going to leave a mark at 9.25. I'm going to be adding an extra 1 inch for the allowance of this fitted dress. So when it's a fitted dress, you do not really need much allowance, because after everything, you're going to take it away. Okay, so 1 inch is just enough for sewing, but you can add extra 1 inch for adjustment just in case you add a little more weight. But for me, I'm going to be using 1 inch for this pattern. I'm also going to be marking out this mark on my armhole line. So once I've marked out this line on my armhole line, now I want to go ahead and create my armhole curve. So for my armhole curve, I'm going to take what I have from this point to this point, and I'm dividing it by 2 this way. So I'm just going to place my tape right here, and I'm going to fold that into 2 like this. Once I fold that into 2, I'm leaving a mark here, and from that point, I'm just going to come in by ½ of an inch. Once I come in by ½ of an inch, I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point to make my shoulder just like this. And then I'm going to connect this point now to meet this line on my armhole just like this. And there you have your armhole curve. So next thing now you want to connect is this one to this one like this. After I've done that, I'm going to take my waist measurement, and I'll be dividing my waist measurement by 4. So my waist measurement is 31, and 31 divided by 4 gives me 7.25, which is 7.75. I'm leaving the mark at 7.75. After leaving the mark at 7.75, I'm also going to add 1 inch of sewing allowance to my waistline. Once I've added 1 inch of sewing allowance to my waistline, I'm going to connect all the way up like this now. So I'm going to ignore this point. I'll just go directly straight up to my armhole like this. So for my hip, I'm going to also divide my measurement by 4. My hip measurement is 43, and 43 divided by 4 gives me 10.25. That's 10.75. So I'm going to leave a mark at 10.75 just like this. I'm also adding an allowance of 1 inch for sewing. So now once I've done this, I'm going to use my ruler, placing it this way to connect to my hip, just like this. So I'm just going to use the curved part of my ruler now to blend this point in so it doesn't look too sharp. So after I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and connect to the base of the gown. So for the base of the gown, it should be smaller. It's usually smaller. So what you want to do now is to take the measurement you have here, and what I have here in total now is about 12 inches. So I'm just going to remove about 1 or 1.5 inches. This is dependent on how fitted you want it to be and dependent on the kind of material that you're using. To mark out your measurements at the base of this gown, you want to determine the kind of material you're using. So if your material is very stretchy, you may want to go down lesser, so this part is more fitted. But if it's not very stretchy and you can't really move around in it, this side of your dress shouldn't be so tight. So since it's a pattern, I'm just going to use a rough measurement. So this is 12 inches now. So I'm just going to remove about 1.5 to 2 inches. So I'm just going to be leaving a mark at 10.5 inch. So this measurement I'm marking is my hip measurement minus 1.5 inch in total. So this is good enough for a dress that has a slit at the back or one where the fabric is not very stretchy. So now I've just left that mark on the full length line, just like I marked out my hip, my waist and my bust measurements, and I'm connecting that with my lines, just like you can see. Just make sure that you're blending the lines at your hip very well so it doesn't look like your hip is bulging out. And this is basically it for the marking of this part. So I'm done cutting this out. Please note that I didn't cut out the material I have here. This is because when you're sewing your dress, you also need sewing allowance. So if you're a beginner in sewing and you're wondering why we're dividing our measurements by 4, this is because we fold materials into 2 most times. So now we folded this into 2. We're also going to cut out the back, and when cutting out the back, you're also going to fold it into 2. So that means that in total you have 4 folds, which is 1, 2, and the other 2 at the back is 4, which is why you have to divide your measurements by 4. So this is the pattern to a basic dress. Let me go ahead and cut the neckline now. So to cut the neckline, I have to open this off like this because it's an asymmetrical neckline. So for an asymmetrical neckline, you have to determine the midpoint of your dress. So the midpoint of my dress is this. It's quite obvious because I've folded my material into 2 before, but on a normal dress, you may need to take a notch like this. This is called a notch. From where you have your notch, you just want to go out by 3 inches, which is the standard basic bodice neckline. So if you're on the bigger side, you can go as much as 3.5 or you can go as much as 4 inches. Just make sure that you're taking that measurement from where you have your notch towards the right, just like you can see me doing. So now I've gone up by 3 inches. So the amount that you come down by is dependent now on how wide this neckline is supposed to be. For me, I'm just going to be taking 7.5 inches down. Once I take 7.5 inches down, I'm going to connect this all the way up like this. So now on this other side, I'm going to come out by 3 inches again, and I'm going to leave a mark. So I'm just going to draw a line like this. For this asymmetrical neckline. So this is a basic asymmetrical neckline. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So when cutting it out, it's as simple as this. So this is basically it for this tutorial. I do hope you found it very helpful. Leave a like if you did, and I'll be seeing you in my other lessons. Bye guys.